Uh, hey guys, I'm doing a little piano tutorial. I don't know if anyone's gonna watch this or if anyone's gonna invest their time. Um, I figured there's so much to talk about the piano, but this kind of knowledge can be applied to any instrument. So you can't really the way my thing is set up, you can't really see the keyboard. I mean, I'll show you. So just so you know, it's real. I'll even show you like what kind of play, so you know, like you're just gonna see my face, but I'll just show you here, like. So yeah, that's like me playing. So that being said, this is for people, anyone really. It's just if you already know the chords. I mean, I'm going to play all the major chords, so if you know your major chords, and that knowledge can be applied to any instrument. Like maybe not a whistle. It's kind of like you can't really play chords with a whistle, but I don't know. Anyway, where was I going? So yeah, like there's so much to talk about with the piano. I won't get into like, you know, what note to press, or you know, that kind of just, that's, if you want to learn that, you can do that on your own time. That's not what this video is for. There's so many tutorials on how to play a C major chord, like you don't need me to tell you that. But yeah, so this video is going to be kind of talking about progressions. I guess I'll start with that. Like, what is a progression? So, because I had no idea for a long time, and I figured I could just kind of help you guys, anyone watching this, any musician, you know, trying to play music. So basically, yeah, you got, these are, it's going to be playing in the key of C. Just like the major chords in the key of C. And the interesting about that is when you play the major chords of the notes that are in the major scale of C, you'll find yourself playing notes that are not technically in the C major scale. So what does that have to do with progressions? Well, I don't really know, but it's interesting nonetheless to know that when you play chords of notes that are in a scale and they're all in major, you're going to be playing notes that are not technically in the C major scale. So for example, I know I said I wouldn't talk about notes, but I'll just say this one quick thing. Like when you play C, it's like C, E, and G. And then when you play D, it's D, F sharp, A. F sharp is, it's the tritone. That kind of gives it that sound, that kind of like there's, like, you know, yearning for some kind of resolution, like the sound is going somewhere, like, but it's kind of like, oh, okay, kind of like that, because F sharp is just a semitone away from G, which is the perfect fifth in C major. But you knew that, right? So yeah, so that's it. So I'm going to be playing major chords. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much playing all of the black keys except for A sharp or B flat, depending on, you know, what you're playing. You know, I don't know why they do that. It seems really complicated. Just call it one thing, but yeah, it's either A sharp or B flat. That's the only black note that you don't hit when you are playing the major chords of every note in the C major scale. What does that have to do with progressions? Again, I don't really know, but maybe you can figure something out on your own from this. So, yeah. What is a progression? It's kind of like fancy, like seemingly pretentious language. It just means the order of the sound. Like that's it. Just the order, like kind of like from you starting at the bottom and you work your way up, or you start from the top and work your way down, or you go up, down, down, up. You're always either going up, down, or staying the same. That's pretty much it. So that's what a progression is. It's like, for example, what I played just a moment ago, I was playing upward, like a progression upward, and then I played it downward, like. Yeah, so that's the C major scale, excuse me, playing all the notes in C major. So, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. I know I'm not hitting the notes, my voice, it's late at night, I didn't, you know what that is, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So yeah. So really, if you understand progressions, you can get a grasp on music, like understanding like why there are certain feelings, like you live certain feelings when there's a certain progression being played. Like if I were to just play like technically that's a progression. It's linear. It's just I'm playing C. It's just I'm inverting the chord, like going from just the regular C, E, G to G, C, E. I think if I'm not mistaken that's the second inversion, although I could be mistaken. G, C, E. And if you don't know about inverted chords, there are so many tutorials on YouTube about that. You don't need me to explain it. Like, it's just a fancy way of saying that you're switching the position of a note on the keyboard. So, yeah, basically where I'm going with this is that playing this, which you might recognize sounds like the beginning of a Beatles song, John Lennon, Imagine. Kind of has that. I don't know how to play it right now, but it has that. You can kind of, I think if I'm not, yeah, so I know the beginning of that song. But anyway, so C major. So why is that a progression, even though you're just playing one chord? Well, because it's like you can just play it, and then there's kind of like a yearning for, there's like a place where you can bring that next. So that's kind of what a progression is. It's like, where are you going with that? Like this. And then you could even just change one note. I was playing C major. I'm gonna play from C to G right now. beginning of the song, and I'm just playing the root note C and the perfect fifth G, and that is like the foundation of any music you'll ever hear, is the root note and the perfect fifth. And what's the perfect fifth? I think I should save that for another video. It has to do with resolution, but I'm sure you can kind of get it. It's like the sound before you start over. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like right at it's like the note with the most tension, so to speak. Some people might say that, some music teachers might say it's the note with the highest tension of for resolution. Like if you're playing in C major, then the chord you're playing before you start again in C major, yearning for the highest tension resolution, would be G. So and I'm just like, you know, the amount of like times I hit a chord, I could just do like, it doesn't, I'm just kind of winging it. Like, you know, I could do just play around with it, you know. There's no way to do it like correctly. It's like you just kind of do trial and error, and then go with what you feel, what you hear, and you judge that sound, and you kind of like attach your feelings to it, and like, what is this sound trying to tell me? So for me, like the C and G progression, which people might call like the 1-5 progression, is like pretty simple, kind of like the beginning of something. It's like the intro before you play like a 4-chord progression. So C and G is 2 chords. And then, you know, I was just playing the basic chords, like all 3 notes in the C major chord and all 3 notes in the G major chord at the same time. And I know I'm saying C major chord, you could just say the C chord, but C major, just, it's just like comfortable to say it that way, because you wouldn't indicate it's major, it's already assumed, unless you indicate otherwise, like C minor, C diminished, C dominant 7, but that's not really what this tutorial is about. It's just like playing C major chord, even though I know you don't have, you could just say C. Just a little tip. Wow, already 13 minutes. Wow, time goes by when you're talking. I'm like just kind of trying to give some pointers to any musicians. You know, I had trouble learning music when I was in school, and I feel like in school music isn't really like taught properly. Not that I have a solution, it's just like, you know, I would have liked someone to explain the things I'm explaining now, but I had to kind of learn the hard way, so I guess this is kind of like a shortcut. You know, and hopefully you'll discover your own feelings about what this is about, which is progressions. And it's pretty late at night, I'm kind of tired, but if anyone's watching this, thanks. I'm just kind of playing the bass right now, C. So, also progressions, like, progressions is one thing, but it's also like, what are you playing What notes are you playing? Where on the keyboard? Are you playing high notes? You know, but that's kind of like included when in the progression. Like, people don't really specify where on the keyboard, like, you know, it's really like important to indicate, like, to yourself when you're playing piano or any instrument, like, where on the tonality of your instrument are you exploring. Because right now I'm just kind of playing, like, more or less like in the middle, like a little bit. I'm not really playing any high notes right now. Like, if you're singing falsetto, that's not what this is really all about. It's I'm just trying to keep it basic. I know this is kind of like me rambling and I'm just kind of spewing a bunch of random information, but if you watch this video over and over, excuse me, and you're learning an instrument, you might oh, excuse me, I just ate some Cheetos. You might find it helpful to understand, like, what you're trying to do, like, have a better relationship with not just hitting the right note, but understanding, like, why you are playing those notes. And then after lots of practice, you won't really be thinking about it. But, you know, I don't want this video to come if you don't understand some of the stuff I'm saying, like what a C major chord is or whatever, like, that it's just fancy language. Like, just listen to the piano, watch the video over, and if you think this is like, you're way ahead of this, then, you know, power to you, and find something better. But in the meantime, I'm just going to try to keep it basic. Alright, so we covered the, like I said earlier, the 1-5 progression. I don't know how long I'm going to make this video, or I guess I should put it in increments, but music tutorial style videos tend to be extensive because we like to ramble about what we think we know. So yeah, take it to the next level, talk about upward progressions, like moving up, like basically hitting higher notes as you play. So see, same progression, but you hear that difference. Same notes, everything, but just changing the tonality of where you play it on the keyboard is like monumental to the feeling. Cause sure, I could just keep like going like, and I just played that progression twice. The C, D, E, D. But just a few moments, just what I played before that, where I ended on the lower part of the keyboard, that's like same notes, but you're shifting, so because you don't want it to be too repetitive, even though you're hitting the same note, you know, it's like, it's not repetitive, even though you're hitting the same note, you're changing where it is on the tonality, like pitch, like my pitch, like the way I talk right now is like pretty deep, but I could talk like this and it's a totally different kind of pitch, you know, that's what I mean. So I'm kind of like, that's a higher pitch compared to how I normally talk, which is more or less like this. And especially when I'm like kind of tired and, you know, my voice is like raspy or whatever. But yeah, so the upward, so C, D, E, and then to D. So you could keep playing this for a while, you know. It goes up, but then it goes down, because then you start it over. And she walked in the room with her hair so nicely. Voluminous and shiny. Voluminous? Is that a word? Voluminous? I don't know. I just made that up randomly, but see, it's like kind of upward and then downward, but then you can just like play your progression, like you can really extend it, like keep going up, like, but you're changing the tonality before you loop back. Even when you loop back to the same progression and you're still playing, you're moving up, so it's like see, same situation, but I was moving up the keyboard. And a lot of people, like, and myself, like, I get so caught up in playing one section of my instrument, and guitar also, like I play a little guitar, and it's like I'm just playing, and it's like I kind of get really like narrowly focused on one part that I'm comfortable with, you know. But you know, use your instrument. Like, this is the lowest C note. This is the highest, which is actually the highest note on the keyboard. This is the lowest C. C, and then C8. So C1 and C8. That's fancy language for measuring out the musical notes, like to figure out, oh, am I singing soprano or bass or baritone or whatever, falsetto. Like the person composing the music might be like, okay, well, I'll play C3, you know, like to kind of indicate, like it's a language, like to indicate to the singer, like I'm gonna start and then I'll move up to C4, middle C, this is middle C, C5, C6, C7, C8. Yeah, we number it, so it's helps communicate the sound. And I know I'm going all over the place, and this has been 23 minutes, but you know, it's to get people comfortable with understanding, like, when you hear music, like, it sounds like a bunch of random noises, and it probably is, but there's like a method to the madness. And keep in mind, like, when you're playing like upward, even like, see, I changed it. Perfect fourth, major second, root note, major second, major third, perfect fourth. So, yeah. I know, like, what I'm playing isn't particularly impressive. It's not like show-offy, like, look at my, you know, like, incredible skills. This is not the point of the video. It's really to, like, for people who are interested in music and don't feel like they're getting a kind of proper explanation on the madness and the methods, the madness and the methods and the methods and the madness, or whatever. So see, what I just did there, I just winged it, but it was really C, A, G, A, C, A, G, D. See, when you play that D, it's really monumental. Like, it has that kind of like the resolution, but I don't want to complicate you. Forget the word resolution for now, okay? It's just like you get a feeling, I don't know about you, but anyway, I'm just speaking for myself. Like, you get like kind of like a probably hear like, oh, that sounds like, yeah, it probably does. It sounds like whatever song you heard, okay? Like, obviously it came from someone who made music, and see, before I jump to that progression, let me finish explaining what I just played. So I was playing C, A, G, A, C, A, G, D. So it's kind of like starting at the root note, going down, so downward progression, downward again, then way back up, starting over, downward, downward, downward. So now maybe you're understanding, and I'll probably, leave you with that. It's although, yeah, I'll go for a little bit longer just to finalize the point I'm making. So it's like you're playing a progression, a chord, you're going down on the keyboard, meaning, like I explained before with my voice, the tonality going down. G, A, starting over, C, A, G, D. See, you feel like, like, it's real, okay? Like, it's because so many people get caught up in just playing like the same. They're afraid to like change their progression, but it's not hard to do. Like, and you don't even have, and then you can just keep playing. There's nothing stopping you from making that your whole song, just the same progression. But then, like, at some point where you're like, your lyrics are highlighting something like crucial to the message you're delivering, that's when you can put like the other part of the progression. And a lot of musicians do that, but they just don't really share that information. Like if you're telling a story, that would be when that sound you make here would be like when you reveal another part of the story that is monumental to the whole story. So I went to the store, got some snacks, not much see, you're telling a story, you're leading them on, but then, like, you know, so kind of understanding, like, you know, you don't even have to, like, take this, like, what I'm saying, like, this is not a rule, okay? Like, there's no rhyme or reason, it's just a tactic, okay? It's like, it's a method, it's something you can do if you want to expand your creativity. So what was I playing? Oh yeah, so now that I've kind of talked about my 1, 6, 5, 6, 1, 6, 5, 2 progression. So 1 is C, 6 is A, 5 is G, 6 is A, 1 is C, 6 is A, 5 is G, 2 is D. Now I'm going to go bounce to what I was doing earlier. C, A, C, G. Totally different sound, but I'm like playing the same chords, but it's a different kind of feeling because it's like I'm going from 1 to 6, back to 1 to 5. If you really want to get brave, combine the 2 progressions that I just shared. And I know that if I were to break it up into 2 parts, like this one, technically that could be, oh, my note kind of got stuck there, but no, it's okay. It's technically 2 progressions because you're kind of switching up one of the chords, even though I guess you could call it 1 progression, you know, 8 chords, but that's irrelevant, you know. I mean, like, maybe it's relevant if you're studying theory and your teacher's grading you, but in terms of actual playing, it's like you're playing, so whatever. But if you're studying theory, then yeah, keep that difference in mind, whether it's 1 progression or 2 progressions, and yeah. Whereas with this one, oops. Not even oops, that's still a chord. G with A in the bass, whatever. So that could be kind of, that sounds like, if I'm listening to the music now, it's like, it sounds like when you would say the verse, like when you're kind of like at extra time, so it has that kind of like back and forth, like, and then the chorus could be like, a little bit all over the place, but I just winged it. Like, I'm not even calculating this. This is just like freestyle, so you can play around with it. There's no set rules, but musically it does kind of sound all over the place because it's a lot of chords in those 2 progressions or 3 progressions or whatever. I'm playing C, D, might sound like a lot because I'm just kind of keeping my foot on the pedal and just playing the notes a whole bunch of times, the same notes. So it's just like, there's no like, careful with making all those changes. That's what I'm saying. Like, because it's good to make changes and like, whoa, like, you know, keep the listener kind of like on edge, but you don't want to make too many changes. So it's like switching the chords is good for like, you know, a bridge or, you know, the chorus. But like, let's say if the song was like actually going to be like, so in this one I'm playing C, A, C, so it's kind of bouncy. So for a chorus, for that to work, you would have to work with that progression. Whereas with this one, it's kind of got its own like back and forth. So you're kind of like putting two back and forth progressions and mushing them together, and it can be like not easy on the ears. Like, I mean, like, do it, but if you're trying to like make a song for everybody and you want it to be like one of those perfect songs, like, just keep that in mind when you're bouncing around chords and like, yeah. So I think a nice progression to, like, if this was the verse, like, yo, I'm wearing a sweater, I think I'm really clever, how about this weather, what I say when I don't know what to talk about, just talk about the weather, oh yeah. And then the chorus could be like, the kind of progression that would suit that would be like, not quite, that's something else. Like to suit the, because this kind of has like a jovial sound, like, so you would want to have a progression that matches that. You don't want it to be like, that's very like downward. You're playing something, you got to keep up with the musicality of what you're playing. You don't want it to be like inconsistent, or maybe you do, but that's a whole different, you know, you're doing something else and people might not listen to you. So yeah, and you know, I know this, maybe this whole video doesn't make any sense, but hopefully you get something from it, or nothing, whatever. But yeah, A, C, G. So trying to think, I'm giving you an example for like a verse part of a song, or it could be the chorus, whatever. Switch it around. So, but I'm trying to find you another progression that suits that, to understand the relationship between progressions. Because you know, when you hear a song, people complain like, oh, it sounds the same over and over. Yeah, because they're not changing the progression. Because they're excited with the progression they found, and they just want to keep it that way. Because they don't want to take a risk. Because, I have no idea. I don't know why. But it's okay to make changes, and it even shows that you're a musician. So, yeah. So yeah, I would go with this. I'm playing C, F, G, A, and it's upward. Well, C and then down. And I find that goes pretty nicely with the C, A, C, G. So this could be like for the verse. I'm wearing a sweater. I think I'm clever. Don't know what to talk about. Talk about the weather. Yeah. Like the other day when someone said, quite some weather we're having. We were just chatting, having a conversation about weather. And then the chorus, having a conversation about weather, having a conversation about weather, having a conversation about weather, having a conversation about weather. Yeah, so then I went to the store and I was going to get something to drink, and then I saw someone I saw before, and I was like, yo, I know how to think, and yeah. So you understand, like, and I'm also changing, like, how I play it, like, and then the chorus is more like, and you know what would be really cool is like, in case you're wondering if you heard the difference, all I did was I went from C to F to G to F, C to F to G to C, rather than going to A. I went, which would be like a nice ending. Progressions. Thank you.